Greetings everybody. You are watching the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel, and today I want to make a video of my first option or my first opportunity to go through a machine I've just gotten. It is now up to me to see if I can understand why the prior owner did not want to keep it, and the owner was upfront about the fact that it was having problems. And for those of you who saw the last video, I had asked any of you who know the Singer 500 series, the 500, the 503, and you're looking at the 503 version of this machine, is there something missing? Well, yes, there is. The lid. The lid of the 500 series is, the whole machine is made beautifully. The lid is a little less robust than the lid of the 400 series. Now, the lids of any of these machines can be vulnerable to damage if you're not careful. And when I say the lid, there's actually a cover of the machine, and there are a couple of bolts that give you access to remove it. But there's actually another cover over the lid, and it folds. It has hinges, and it folds, and when it does, it actually pushes the spool pins down. This was part of this is something you also see in the Singer 400 series. The cover, when you would open the cover up, the main reason for the cover is perhaps to keep dust out. The cover's been gone a while. This machine's got dust on it, but it also had a lot of the settings or the formula. The code, if you will, for setting the decorative stitches. Fortunately, that's not a complete loss, because the actual code to use those decorative stitch cams and how to set them is actually in the owner's manual. So it was in two places, and I believe that the flip-up cover was basically there as a convenience. You could flip the cover up and read the codes right there. You didn't have to get the book out. So if you have one of these, and I suspect that the 500 series is more likely to miss its cover than some of the others, such as the 400 series. But if that's true, don't pass over it. I didn't. I knew that this one did not have its cover, because the seller had the person who owned it had some photos, right, of the machine. And I thought, well, But these are known to go missing at times. So that is missing. But that's actually not the most interesting thing I am noticing. So I am now focused on seeing if I can determine why there were two extra hinge pins included. It's unusual, and you see them sometimes, but it's kind of unusual to see that in a bag of accessories. Okay, so I have positioned the camera behind the machine, and we're going to take a look. Remember that vintage sewing machines are installed into cabinets, and many times they are also installed into carry cases with hinges that have pins. The pins go into holes in the base of the machine. This applies to almost every vintage machine except for the Singer Featherweight or the Singer 221 and 222 models, if you are so blessed to have one of those, as well as the Singer 300, the 301. But most other machines require hinge and pins. Now, these are the two hinge pins that were included with the accessories, which surprised me. Again, it's not unheard of, but it's not common either. Well, I'm going to show you why that is. Because as I look down, and this is something, it's not common, at least for me. I have been looking at vintage sewing machines for how long now? Holy cow, 12 years. And I've not seen this happen very often. So I'm going to direct your attention to the hinge that the machine is installed with, not the extra that came with it. It's the same hinge However, let's look in. We're going to zoom in to the original hinge, and we have a problem here. I'm going to take my flashlight. Can you guys see that when I graze the flashlight across? Look at here. There's crack. There's a crack here and on this side. So the hinge, the little, it's like a hinge plate, and there's a pin that pivots. This thing is cracked, right? So at some point it got tired. And what about the other one? Well, I'm afraid that it has suffered the same fate, which explains why there's not one but two extra hinge pins that were included with the machine. Now, the owner of the machine did not mention anything about this. In fact, I didn't know that the hinge pins were even in there because I hadn't looked at the accessories until I opened them up and was showing them to all of you. We all looked at them for the first time together. So here's again the second extra hinge pin, and look here. You'll see the same thing. Now up here, let's tilt the camera just up a little bit. I'm not referring, there's a little bit of laminate loss, but that's not what I'm pointing to. Look here, there's a line here. And if I do that with the flashlight, you can more easily see it, and right here. So there are cracks. So apparently, the owner of the machine had intended at some point, or maybe they got the machine with these included, someone apparently was aware of this and had plans to fix it, but did not. And the person who had this machine before I did, they didn't tell me anything about that. They did not mention anything about it. Do I think they were hiding it? No, I think they probably just forgot. The number of people I have met over the years when I've gotten sewing machines, the vast majority of them, when they neglect to tell me something, it's because they don't know or they don't think about it. It's it's just not common. I mean, it has happened before where someone, sold me something that wasn't what it was advertised as, but that's been so rare, thankfully. So, other than our hinges, but thankfully the hinge pins, the replacements seem to be there waiting. And that is a project that I typically do not enjoy, not because it's difficult, and I'll show you all my approach to it. It's because when you unscrew a hinge pin, remember that it's going to weaken the connection when you put the screw back in, and that's just the nature of wood screws. So may have to be a remedy for that. All right, what do we have here? What do we need to look at? I haven't plugged this in yet. The switch is there. I don't know if the bulb works, but that I'm not concerned because I could easily replace the bulb, and there's a method for that. This, of course, is my my tension assembly. There's some paint loss, which tells me the machine's had some use, but that doesn't scare me. It's a vintage machine from this era. They are built like tanks. Now, one thing that I am happy about, in spite of the fact that this machine has not led a very comfortable life, again, it could just be aesthetic, yeah, the lid's missing, but that doesn't mean it isn't in fantastic shape in some other way, although, again, the last owner told me it was having some problems. And what is interesting, though, is that the side door is still there and in good shape. Anytime and I told people this in the past, never pick up a sewing machine on the two ends because you'll rip the little door off. And this can happen to any sewing machine of any brand or model that has a side door. With Singers, they were extra vulnerable. Now, obviously, it's been on there since 1958 and still works. Not a problem. However, the 500 series doors are even more vulnerable than the 400, which are not exactly the most robust thing either. So they're not mechanical, right? But the fact that this door is still on here is a nice good thing because you often see those missing. Now, while we have this little door open, go ahead and see if we can take a look and Oh, that's not good. Uh-oh. I'll try to hold this flashlight still so it doesn't look like a strobe light for you guys. Look at that. Do any of you who know this channel, do you remember the last time I saw something this gross? You guys remember? It was the first time I had to salvage a machine. Now, I'm not making that assumption here, and this, this is moving, but I don't know what. Now, there's some fuzz in here, which is just lint that's gotten in there, but I don't know what is going on in here. But this is an ugly, greasy mess. Sewing machine oil, when it gets nasty, typically turns amber, but this is extra dark. It's like the color of dark maple syrup. So I don't know, I really literally do not know what has gone on in here. So I wouldn't be surprised if the zigzag doesn't work too well. So I am going to do one quick test, and we'll get that flashlight off of there. All right. This is a basic test that you can do when you get a sewing machine. You get it home for the first time. Do not plug it in. Don't try to run it. I see people doing this at times, and usually it can be concerning. All right, I'm going to, well, not by hand. Oh, wow. Okay, so the sewing foot is on there, and that thumb screw is really on there. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to lower the foot down just a minute because I want to focus right here where the needle is. Okay, now on the 500 series, you have needle position, which is here. Okay, it might never have been moved since 1958. No kidding. And then over here, there's a lever you push down, and then you move it across, and as it comes across, it helps to control the width of your stitch. Right now, it's set to no width for presumably straight stitch sewing because the needle goes up and down. Now remember, I've told all of you for many machines that are zigzag capable, this one is that and more. It's not unusual when you turn the hand wheel. I'm turning it now with my hand. If you focus here, watch the needle. It goes up and down. Okay. Right? All right. That can happen, but that doesn't mean your machine is ready to sew. In fact, if I zoom down in here, we can even take a look at the bobbin case space. The case is there, thank you. The plate is easily willing to slide. There's no bobbin in it, but that's not necessarily a problem. And the race, or the shuttle rather, is moving down below. Okay, now what do we expect that might not be working on a machine like this? Well, we could get lucky, but right, this is the device, this is the lever, and as you pull it to the left, it will raise. Remember, on the 500 series, you do not lower the feed dogs, you raise the needle plate. So let's get our sewing foot up out of the way. Now, watch when I do this. If this is your machine, if this does not move, do not force it, okay? So I've got, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, it doesn't want to move. That is no. Now, it should be able to move eventually, but don't force this. This has probably been sitting here forever, okay? Because remember, lowering feed dogs, or in this case, raising the needle plate, was all about free motion sewing and darning, which, if this doesn't work, it's because almost every machine I ever get, it doesn't work. It's frozen. It's not necessarily broken, fingers crossed, but don't force it. That requires its own procedure to loosen up, right? We got to wake that up. That's been asleep probably since 1958. And yeah, it's got some crud, some dust in there, but its biggest problem is it just hasn't moved. All right, now, this is probably one of the most important things. Save this one for last, and keep watching this space here with the needle, okay? You want to see that needle, you want to see the whole, let's see, get that, yeah. You want to see this bar move sideways, okay? So, well, how do you know how to move it sideways? Well, we know that because this lever here, okay, I'm going to zoom in so you can get a little bit better view of it. Whoops, come here. All right, so it sits here, okay? And it comes out, it's sort of flat, and you push down on it, and then you push to the right. Now, I'm going to do that, and sometimes you can push the lever and your needle bar won't move, but this, when I push, you have to remember you have to push down, because if you don't, right, the lever it actually lives up in a place where it can't easily be moved, okay? Right? So you have to pull it down, and it does pull down. Thank you. And then when I try to move it to the side, oh no, it does not want to go. Okay. So, and I'm not surprised. Based on the goo that I see over there on the in the needle bar and pressure bar area over here on the side, I'm not surprised at that one bit. You know, it's not really clear to me whether the person I got this machine from was not, were they having problems because they were trying to do zigzag? Just because the needle bar goes up and down, like you can see here, that doesn't mean it will sew even a straight stitch, right? We just don't know. So the machine's got problems, but again, they were definitely honest with me, telling me that the machine had problems. And I don't know what in the world going on over here with the goo, but hopefully this is not going to be like the Kenmore that so many of you followed along for so long, hoping that we could save that machine. But that machine has given its parts up for as a donator for other machines to save others. But this one, I don't know. You know, we've got moving. I'm going to have to see what's going on with it. Why is it so gooped up? And is that why it doesn't move? You know, is it that, or is it something else? But this is not going to be straightforward, you know, going around every area of the machine. Well, it is, but it's something tells me this is going to take a while. And now we're getting warmer weather. I'm beginning to wonder if this machine might be a candidate for a soak. I don't know. But anyway, we are determined to do as much as we can to save it. So sometimes, you know, I purchase machines that are in great shape and they need a full restoration, but, you know, they're functioning. And then sometimes I don't. And that's the risk you take. But if you have purchased a machine like this or that had problems, hopefully you didn't pay a lot of money for it. Because, again, either you're going to pay someone to overhaul it or you're going to do it yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, again, your time is valuable, just as valuable as anyone's. So, again, something to think about when you are looking to purchase a machine. And we're going to see if this Rocketeer ever gets off the ground, literally, if it can ever sew a stitch again. But we will certainly find out and give it the college try. I know there are some wonderful fans of the channel. You're always rooting for me, trying to get me to keep going, and I so appreciate that. For those of you who found the channel helpful in any way, please consider donating. You can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link. It takes you to my Vintage Sewing Machine Garage Buy Me a Coffee page. You'll recognize it, and you can donate at whatever level you would like, and it really helps me to with seed funding to buy more of these machines, to get them rescued and hopefully overhauled, restored here on the channel and into the hands of a new owner. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.